So we just talked about limbic reactivity. Can you talk about meditation and how that could relate to the tool set?
Well, the most important thing to understand about the tool set of self-observation is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So we oftentimes think of ourselves meditating as sitting, closing our eyes, being posturally upright. We have to look like this. All of the sort of visual examples we've seen as what to sort of influence culturally what meditation is. But meditation could be walking, eating, communicating. You can meditate in many different ways, but the act of meditation is intentional witnessing,
Right.
intentional awareness of what is occurring.
Yeah.
That is literally meditation. Now, seated meditation creates a very particular outcome because you're in stillness and you're not creating a lot of activity, which is then basically feeding more information into the mind's sort of system of data crunching. Because if you really think about the brain's sole purpose is to use the senses to collect information to say, hey, the room's hot. I'm in danger. What is that? What am I smelling? And so it's literally just collecting data.
Yeah.
So when you limit the amount of information coming in, basically you just create an environment that allows for you to get to a place of stillness more quickly.
Okay.
That's the essential quality of meditating in a quiet place, is that, okay, I just sort of turn down all the noise coming in from different ways in which I collect data with my sensory equipment.
Yeah.
But to use meditation for limbic reactivity, for awareness of limbic state is 100% brilliant, because you can sit and you can take a moment and you can remember something that really triggers you, and then you can work with it. Right? What a beautiful process. Yeah. Sitting, remembering something that causes you pain, and working through it right there.
Yeah.
Where reaction and isn't even required. There's nowhere to go. There's no person in front of you to react to. There's only this opportunity for you to deconstruct and unpack and look at why you even remember it that way, why it even brought up so much pain for you.
Yeah.
So meditation is one of the greatest tools that we have ever developed or discovered. I don't know if it's really which it is, in the sense that, and the reason I say that is because sitting and being quiet, I'm not sure that's an invention or that's just a faculty, that might just sort of be there, might just be something that, we've been doing. Really, I mean, if you observe a gorilla, it just sits and stares and eats.
Yeah.
So witness, just observation of what is something we've been doing, obviously, our lines back, of evolution. Once we started communicating with language, we really created a tremendous amount of excess noise.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no comparison. If you go to a silent retreat, or you just spend a day in silence, there's no comparison in regard to the energy spent being silent versus the energy spent speaking. It takes a tremendous amount of energy.
Yeah.
And so if you understand that thought, which has always been with us, but was not always in the form of language. And once that was introduced, it really did bring about a lot more noise. And because it also then brought with, not only to understand the connection, is not just did it bring noise because your words are interpreted different ways, and you're constantly using them to try to understand other people's, perceptions and ideas and beliefs. But you're now cooperating on a mass scale in a different way than you cooperated before. So in other words, language was one of the most important tools that allowed us to expand our cooperation.
Right.
And then become the dominant animal that we are on the planet.
Right, right.
So if you understand the impacts of language beyond just static noise, just more for us to have to intake, it then exposed us to more people, more information. And so it's like, here you are in the morning, you might wake up and read what's going on in Sweden, in Iraq, and you're just taking in incredible amounts of information from all over the world, from many different people, just something you would never do in the natural world.
Yeah.
So this is a very artificial structure, this matrix we've created. It's quite complex and quite artificial if you consider that every other animal on the entire planet does it differently.
Yeah.
Right? We're the only one that stepped out of that, out of the natural order of things. But also, again, we're the only other animal that's suffering psychologically and physiologically from all of these learned skills. Because I'm going to call it a skill.
Yeah, it is a skill. Yeah.
But you're not going to tell me that it doesn't have cost. There's collateral damage. There are symptoms that are associated with this thing.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as, oh, we learned to speak, and hasn't that been great for us?
Right. No, it's not.
Okay? And while we learn to cooperate, and hasn't that been great for us? Yes and no. And again, very hard to measure that until the end of time. And I'm talking human time, not, universal time.
Yeah.
Not that there is any such thing. What I'm really referring to is the ability for you to look back and say, how did we do? It's going to be, it's not easy to do until, you happen to be in that moment in time.
Right.
So when you're there, maybe you look back and you go, whoa. Because the way we look back and look at other cultures that succeeded or failed, other societies that succeeded or failed, we sit back and we have these really, clever academic conversations about it. But then when it comes to us, we're like, because, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's like, wait a second. Weren't we just talking about the fall of the Roman Empire based on a particular behavior pattern? So when you can look back and you can see the success of societies and how those societies were behaving and how they were adopting and using technology and skills and how it served them or didn't serve them.
Yeah.
So meditation is an incredible tool that we don't use very often. Very, 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 very few people meditate. That means very, 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 very few people are aware of self.
Yeah.
And very few people have the ability to stop, analyze, critical think, and respond. Very few people operate off of that model. Most people just react.
Yeah. So
even if you had an entire, you have 9 billion people on the planet, even if you have, I'm going to be generous with these numbers. Let's just say 1 billion people
meditated
and knew how to critically think, solve problems, make great decisions, not be reactive. You still have 8 billion people on the planet that are making 90% of their decisions, if not 99, I'm being probably, again, generous, emotionally.
Yeah.
Just emotional limbic reaction. Every decision, every choice is some type of survival response. Yeah. So how in the world could you collectively get to a place where you're making great decisions for the collective, from a world-centric viewpoint, if all you can behave from is an egocentric viewpoint? Okay? Yeah. So meditation is one of our greatest underutilized, and I would even say undiscovered skills. It's always there, it's always available, and yet we rarely do it.